welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome to your Business Miracles community, your highly sensitive leadership training program, and our weekly training roundtable for today, which is April 1st, 2026. And as an April baby, I hate April Fools. So everything that's being shared on this weekly training roundtable is all true. It is all 100% true. No April Fools at all. Let's take a moment. Let's activate the energy as we prepare ourselves to receive. Take a moment, uncross your feet, your ankles, your legs. Take a moment, put down anything that might be in your hands and bring your hands to your lap. And together, let's close our eyes. And together, let's take in a strong, steady breath. Breath in and let it out. Take a moment and just move those hands on the lap forward and back and forward. Just really generating some heat, making a connection between the palm of the hand and the top of your lap, and maybe even just pressing down a little bit just for a moment, just as a reminder, I am here. Together again, breath in and let it out. Once again, hands back and forward and back on the lap, feeling that connection between palm of hand and top of lap, as slow or fast as you choose, as light or not so light pressure as you choose, but just as a reminder, once again, taking a moment for a press down and acknowledgement that I am here. Breath in and let it out. Eyes still closed, now bringing both hands to heart. I was joking just a moment ago of slow the life train down, and yet there is a deep resonance that this is what, in some way, we are all experiencing. And so in this moment, there is a reminder that we have full privilege of agency to slow the life train down, to calm the nervous system down in any single moment, any opportunity we choose. If we feel ourselves being revved up, that is a signal the head brain has taken over. And it is a reminder to bring oneself back to the heart, hands on heart, and back to the body, hands on lap. Pressing in, choosing this moment, here and now, coming back to the power of oneself, the strengths we hold as HSPs, and our ability to transcend, to see what others are not yet seeing, and to operate from this place. And be the light, the leader that so many others are needing. Together again, breath in and let it out. Dropping chin to chest, slowly allowing eyes to come back on open, bringing hands back to wherever they need to go to prepare yourself to receive from today's weekly training roundtable, including allowing gaze to rise back up, connecting in with the amazement of our virtual connection and classroom. We will be staying in full community today, but before we dive into full community roundtable, I am going to be handing us over to Coach Nicole for a brief training. And I've called on Coach Nicole for this training, tapped her, if you will, because of Nicole's longevity in the Business Miracles community. So yes, it's April 1st. However, March is a very special month for Coach Nicole. One, it's her birthday, so yay. We celebrate all birthday months, not just April. And yay, March brought us Coach Nicole. It is also March being Nicole's Business Miracles anniversary. When she first entered into the Business Miracles community 11 years ago, it was a birthday gift to herself. And wow, what a birthday gift it was, because is a gift that has just continued to keep giving. So I've asked Nicole to bring forward to revisit one of our most core and important foundational trainings, now more than ever, especially when we feel like the life train is taking over. So with that, Coach Nicole, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I do love March. And from my birthday month to your birthday month, Heather, happy birthday to all of our springtime babies. Yes, I am here to talk about one of our very first, most foundational trainings, and that is our HSP coping mechanisms. So today, our topic is HSP coping mechanisms revisited. Go ahead and write that one down. This is such an important topic, such an important training. It is why we made this one of the very first trainings in our entire leadership curriculum. So, for our newer members, this training was part of your recent kickoff call series. And for our more long term members, you may have been hearing these terms from their inception, from the very beginning. So, when we say coping, when we say coping mechanisms, coping cycle, what exactly are we talking about? So coping is what happens when we try to override our highly sensitive nervous system. It is not a conscious thing. It is ignoring the opportunity for learning, ignoring the opportunity for curiosity. Coping and the coping cycle happens when it feels hard to be in this world as highly sensitives, which we have all been experiencing so much of recently throughout these last few months. And this is why we have been focusing on this, why we focused on this as part of this intuitive planning period. Coping happens when we are in our shadows and shadow behaviors. When we are in our coping mechanisms, we are abandoning ourselves. As Heather has been speaking to over these last few weeks, we are denying our essential selves as highly sensitives. And we know from these last few weeks that denying our essential selves leads to loneliness, leads to isolation, which is very bad for us as HSPs, leads to ill health symptoms, and it is a very difficult place to create from. If we choose to avoid, to dissociate, to dig in our heels and refuse to change, we are not going to be happy HSP campers at the end of this 4Q period in a couple of months. If we choose to be in coping, we are not going to have very happy bank accounts, both literal and energetic. So we see coping and the coping mechanisms as three dominant coping mechanism types. So first we have pushing, second we have hiding, and third we have combo flattering. So again, we have pushing, we have hiding, and we have combo flattering. So for pushers, pushing coping mechanism, pushers abandon themselves by feeling frantic, by giving themselves little free time, little space, no slowing down, piling on projects so you can't possibly even think about slowing down. Perhaps might show up as feeling addicted to the to-do list, feeling entitled to the to-do list. And it also, pushing can show up as the rebel. You can't make me do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I want. So that's the pushing coping mechanism. Then we have our hiders. Hiders take it all inward. Hiding is about avoidance. It is about holding it all in. Hiders tend to be our rule followers, tend to be our people pleasers, and hiding is really all about operating from fear, working to control everything as an attempt to feel safe. And then we have combo plattering, which is for the HSP who really wants to torture themselves. They do a little of both. Heather likes to speak to this as gas brake in a car. But when I first learned about coping mechanisms and I heard her describe the combo plattering, my image has always been I don't know who remembers. So Dr. Dolittle, there was this creature and it was like a llama with two heads and it was like called Push Me, Pull You, I think. And like each one of the llama heads would be trying to go in the opposite direction. And what ended up happening is this little creature would stay stuck exactly in one place. And that is exactly what happens with combo plattering. You really are trying to do both and you end up stuck exactly where you are. And I want to take a moment and really just emphasize that the coping cycle, coping mechanisms, coping, it's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. This is really important because sometimes we come in and we think, "Ooh, I'm a hider, so I'm gonna be a pusher instead. I'm gonna like take that energy and really go for it." But no one of the three is any better or worse than the others. We all have tendencies from all three types, and none of it is of service to us. None of it is in service to us living fully in our essential selves, in our HSP strengths, in being able to bring to the world what we are meant to share with whom we are meant to share it with. So I share about the tendency to maybe try to overcorrect in the opposite direction because that was me. I came in 11 years ago for my birthday and I was a hider. Olympic champion hider, like hiding for years, hiding and making all of my everything perfect and taking so much time on all of my marketing materials and my unique services serving system and my business miracles message and just keep repeating and going back and going back. And as I learned about these coping mechanisms, I now know that I overcorrected myself into pushing. And I see that happening for so many of us when we first start retraining as highly sensitives. We get into this push and crash cycle. And for me, that is what inspired. You may have heard me talk about, I have this long-term ongoing order form to the universe practice. I was just speaking to core member Heather Zankman about this on the forum. I started my OFTU practice in September of 2023, and I just recently hit past 365 OFTUs, which 365 days in a year, that is a full year of OFTUs. And I really want to emphasize September 2023. So it has taken me 2.5 years to create 1 year's worth of OFTU. And I share this because that is really how I would have been able to choose to step out of coping, of all of the coping mechanisms, is embracing the progress over perfection and really letting it be a learning over time. And so when we come in and when we are untrained as HSPs, the coping cycle feels familiar. so it feels comfortable. And that gives us this false sense of safety, false sense of security. So again, just going to emphasize, not good or bad, not right or wrong. It just helps to understand what our dominant coping mechanism is, to know how we respond, to know what is our default reaction. And that helps us to be able to choose to step out of it more quickly. Because as we have been talking to for so many weeks now, there is so much happening right now. There is so much intensity. There is so much darkness. There is so much grief happening in the world right now. We are in this revolutionary time, and it comes with triggers coming at us fast and furious in all directions. So, do we let ourselves be triggered into the coping cycle, into our coping mechanisms? Or, and good news, again, we have a choice. We get to choose. And Heather spoke to this on our intuitive planning day back in February. These few months are an invitation. It is an invitation to get with the program of our HSP truth and essential self, and we get to choose. We can choose to step out of the coping cycle at any time. We can choose to embrace progress over perfection. We can choose to celebrate a year's worth of OFTUs over 2.5 years of time. We can choose to go baby step by baby step. We can choose to celebrate those baby steps as we go, because all of those steps add up to a big difference. This is how we can choose to retrain our HSP nervous system. We can choose to be proactive from the power of our heart and stop coping and stop denying our essential self. And we can use this time to step into a new identity. And that might mean that we are deconstructing something that we're accustomed to, that place that feels familiar and feels comfortable and feels like it's safe, but we are deconstructing that false sense of safety in order for something better and stronger to emerge, so that we can get to that place that Heather is described to us, where we are not trying to manifest by force, so that we are becoming magnetic. We are attracting, and we are becoming that exception to the rule. So this time, this revolutionary time that is full of all of these triggers, it is not a time to hide or push or combo platter our way through. It is time for us to trust our inner wisdom and to take action, baby step actions from that inner wisdom. And how do we do this? We lean into our 4 Qs. We lean into this gorgeous, aligned community. We use the tools of our highly sensitive leadership training program, our weekly roundtables, the community forum. Use your leadership curriculum track trainings. And we choose to see the obstacles, the intensity, the darkness of our times as an opportunity for transformation. And that is how we go from coping to creating. This is how we create change. This is how we do it differently. And as Heather was speaking to in our introduction, this is the perfect time. This time of year that is all about rebirth and renewal, recommitment, re-return, re-everything. I recently had this conversation with member Marcy Wilkinson about this energetic shift that she's been feeling as we move into spring, as we go through the spring equinox, and how she is using that energetic shift to quantum leap forward. And Heather already told you that this is a very special time of year for me. I love this time of year. My birthday is actually just a couple of days after the spring equinox. And so I always like to think of this as like an added layer of this is my new year. This is my new start for renewal and recommitment and recommitting to hope, to act for betterment. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Beautiful. Before I hand us back over to Heather for full community roundtable, I am going to invite Coach Kat to step forward and share a quick program tips. So Kat, when ready, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nicole, and happy birthday, April babies. Yay. My son and my husband both are April babies too. What a great time of year. And I really love that we're building on what we've been talking about the denial of essential self as a community again, because a lot of us didn't even know what that is and may still not know what that is. So we want to really understand, how does this actually trigger us into coping? So, a couple of track trainings to help you with this. First, for our foundation members, I'm going to recommend How Coping Keeps You Captive. That is in ORNT 1110, How Coping Keeps You Captive. And this is so that you can really begin to build this awareness of where and when you're actually going into coping and what that looks like for you, because that's the first step to getting in front of it. As Heather shared, you could do that with an OFTU. You could do that with auto writing or some other way, but we want to really be bringing this into our awareness, into a proactive practice of addressing this through our weekly actions and our 4Q intuitive plans if you're currently working with one. The second track training I want to recommend for all other levels, and I'm especially going to recommend this to anybody who's been feeling heavy or who's been really feeling like this exceptional grief and emotions that are happening with everything that's happening in the world around us, because this is a great training to take you into a deeper dive and really help you to get into your HSP strengths, access what is needed for your HSP essential self, and create. Keep creating in spite of the heaviness. Speaking of creating in spite of, our team wants to celebrate first year member Rose Fakete. We want to celebrate you. First of all, yay, you were wearing exactly the right t-shirt last week, your Wonder Woman t-shirt, to our weekly roundtable. Rose has been using the track trainings and tools like the Turbo BTT and the OFTU to really move out of the HSP shadow tendency to push or hide. And she posted that she is now taking actions such as sharing what she does with other people in a way that doesn't feel self-conscious. She is living her dream job of teaching, building out her coaching program, and she's doing this because it feels safe to be in VNV. That is a business miracle, and that is the power of leaning into your HSP strengths and learning how to step out of that coping cycle for yourself. Amazing. I'm going to now hand us directly over to Heather for that full community Q&A. But first, before I do, one more round of applause for Rose. Yay. Over to you, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach Kat. Thank you, Coach Nicole and Rose. I really do love that Wonder Woman t-shirt. You like wear it like for almost every weekly training roundtable. It just makes me so happy every time I see it. Wonder Woman. Exactly. Power pose galore. Amazing. Let's take a moment. Let's place a hand on heart. Let's take a breath in and let it out. With hand on heart, I'll take a moment to reiterate part of what Coach Nicole shared, which is that our coping mechanisms are not bad. There was a member who was speaking with me the other day, and she used the word coping, and then she was like, oh, we don't do that anymore. And it's not that we don't do that anymore. The coping mechanisms and the coping mechanisms as a training are simply an invitation to go beyond the coping that has served us well, that has gotten us to where we are now. It is an opportunity to open a wider door, enter another level, and to be in a space of creating above the fray, similar to what Coach Kat just shared about Rose entering into the program for the first time, now in her dream job, which she was not in when Rose and I first connected. These are the business miracles that we speak of. These are the business miracles that we aim to enter into from a space of creating versus coping. So, with all of this in heart and mind, take a moment, check in with yourself. What is standing out to you on today's weekly training roundtable when it comes to coping mechanisms? That perhaps is maybe an introduction to a concept or an awareness, or perhaps is a reminder, or perhaps you heard something in a new and different way for yourself. 30 seconds and write that down. And when ready, a follow-up inquiry. Where could you use support? Where could you use support with stepping out of coping so that you can create change? Where could you use support to step out of coping so that you can create change in spite of, in support of your 12-month goal, focus vision, quarterly benchmark, utilization of intuitive planning? Where could you use support? These two questions are an invitation into a pattern break, right? Or at least a pattern interrupt to get ahead of what has become just so familiar, as Coach Nicole was speaking to receive support, to be witnessed, so that when that trigger comes, because it will, you do have a greater level of awareness, you do have a deeper level of understanding, and then you do have a greater access to choice and action to do differently. That's our intent here. Together again, breath in and let it out. We're going to share introductions as part of this full community roundtable. Please write this down if helpful. Please share your name, where you're zooming in from, your leadership training program level, that's foundation, core, plus, or plus plus, and your current leadership track. That sounds like visionary or self-care or marketing or advanced marketing, professional, etc. Introduction, where could you use support?
On the core program and on the mindset track. And I can see today a slight trigger because yesterday I had a one-to-one meeting. I did my self-assessment and I did my Rains It and I shared it on the forum. And then I have another one tomorrow. But the mind was trying to tell me, oh, this is a waste of time. This is too hard. It's never going to work. And then I just sat down and I set my timer for 5 minutes before the round table and I just closed my eyes and put my hand on my heart.
Mm.
So that was something different rather than trying to push or hide. But it's like, I wish that voice would just go away.
Yes. I sense you're not the only one who has that wish. What a beautiful share, Fidelma. What a great way to start us off, right? A demonstration of a do differently. And let me ask you, when you did take those 5 minutes, you did set your timer, you sat with your hand on your heart. What happened?
I think I fell asleep for 5 minutes.
Did you say you felt a safer 5 minutes?
Yeah, I did. I think I actually switched off. And maybe that's what I needed. Not to think about anything, just to stop.
And when you say just to stop, what are we actually stopping?
The overthinking and the ego mind trying to stop me.
And so, what about sitting still with your hand on your heart for 5 minutes helped that to stop? Do you sense?
I just interrupted the pattern.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, the literal physical placement of the hand on the heart and why we do this so frequently is because you're exactly right, Fidelma. It is a pattern interrupter. It's very, very hard, not impossible, but hard to have your hand on your heart and still for the brain, the head brain, to be in overdrive. So, what I hear in your share is that your intuitive instinct was spot on because of all the real work that you continue to show up to do here in this community and in your leadership training program, it kicked in. In that moment, you had a moment of HSP self leadership and you chose choice action. I'm going to choose the heart, the power of the heart, over the continue rumination, shadow pattern, overworking of the head brain. And as a result, you felt safer just in those 5 minutes. So then the next thing that
Yeah.
I hear is that, so then that's available for you. First of all, anytime the head kicks into overgear, anywhere you are. And it's also available to you before every one-on-one because every one-on-one is a clean slate. It's a new opportunity. It's a do-over. It's a do differently. It's a course correct. Use any language that you want to use. Cherry on top that I want to offer here is beware of that wishful thinking. That wishful thinking is socialized convention that keeps us stuck in those shadow patterns and those coping mechanisms. If you literally just drop into being a witness and you kind of like walk around your community or even just listen to your friends or your family, within 24 hours, you can count likely at least 1 to 5 people saying, oh, I wish I. And what that really is it's a throwaway of personal responsibility. And I invite everybody to write that down because the ego mind, the fear based mind, fools you into thinking that you're doing something. Oh, I wish. But at the same time, it's giving you an out. I'm not really going to do anything bad. So I wish the voice would just stop. Well, guess what? For those 5 minutes, it did. And so then you keep making the choice and you keep taking the action, you keep placing your hand on your heart every 5 minutes, every 5 minutes, every 5 minutes. And then eventually you get to the place where you've done 365 days of an order form to the universe, a full year's worth, whether it takes you 2.5 years or not, but that's going to have an impact on you. You place your hand on your heart 365 times and you choose to take a breath rather than give over to the ego mind. You think that's not going to work on you? Of course it's going to work on you. Like any muscle that you build, you can't do 365 sit-ups and not have stronger abs. So you can't not put your hand on your heart and choose to breathe and not learn and develop a different skill of giving over to and leading from heart and intuition versus that override, that false sense of safety that Coach Nicole was speaking to of the head, including, oh, I wish. Scrap that from your vocabulary, each and every one of you right now. Use it as a trigger to awaken you. Be like, oh, this is a pattern interrupt moment. And every time you hear somebody else say it, that's also a pattern interrupt moment. Now, don't go into being that obnoxious person that when you hear someone say, I wish, you're like, oh, you shouldn't say, no, that's not what this is about. When you hear somebody else say it, it's for you. When you hear somebody else say it, then you put your hand on your heart and you go, what action am I meant to be taking? Well done. Now, let's each place our hand on our heart and let's take a breath in and let it out. As always, listening deeply with 2 ears. Yes, this is for Fidelma, and she's going to have an amazing one-on-one coming up soon. And it's also for you. So what are you hearing that's meant to be applied, that's meant to be added to your 4Q focus or update, and is meant to be do it. Beautiful.
Good morning, core program, mindset track. So what came forward, I took copious notes with Fidelma. So thank you so much, Fidelma. I got so much out of that. So what I would say that is standing out to me is that that sort of claiming of the essential self. So I feel like I've been in this community for 10 years. I feel like in many, many ways, I am embodying a very different way of being than I did when I first came into this community. However, I just did an assessment of the first 90 days of this year, sort of like looking at my benchmark and what was happening, and then realizing I've been putting all of my attention into a particular group of people that are actually, as I was doing my assessment, I recognize as I'm actually trying to market like the 80%ers. How adorable of me. And I thought I was being authentic and truthful and essentially myself. And it's actually been the safe place to market because I get no results.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's up for me today. And so where I could use support is recognizing like, right, so I need to just like, it's like I'm reminded of the movie Avatar, you know, when you get plugged into the horse, right? I've been plugged into the wrong horse. We're not flying people. So I got to unplug from that one, find my flying avatar and plug into that one. So how to do that with ease and grace, letting go of the communities that I've been connected with and involved in and all of that. And then how do I make that, and almost, again, I think visually, it's like sliding the big ladder in the library over to the right side of the library so that I can climb the stairs and find the books that I need and get the results that I want.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And you are far from alone. Far from alone, right? It's a beautiful example and a very common HSP example of exactly what Nicole was speaking about regarding safety, right? Because it's familiar. And I really, really appreciate your ability and your awareness. Well, let me say your awareness and your ability to recognize and have the awareness and then to language the awareness of, oh, this feels safe because I'm not getting results. And your ability to have that recognition and to have that language is because of the time that you've been here in this community and the way that you have been doing the real work to continuously reveal your essential self. That now you are at a place where you can actually feel safe having this awareness and then speaking to this awareness and being witnessed in this awareness. And then what that shows us is like, oh, now this awareness is ready to go into a deeper understanding and then therefore is ready to go into a different set of choice and actions, which is exactly what you're asking about. And I don't want to bypass that because that is really extremely valuable and that is well earned. And that is where the true transformation and true change comes from. And every single one of us right now needs to take that in. And we need to take that in because of that little voice that Fidelma was speaking to that goes, oh, but nothing's happening. It's not enough. It's like, stay with it. Stay with it, dear ones. Because otherwise, you're just going to keep repeating and you're going to keep having the same experience. And it's going to keep feeling very, very painful and frustrating. But where Joelle is at now, where you're at, Joelle, is like, oh, I'm ready to make a different choice and I'm ready to take a different action. And I need some support in how to do that. So knowing what I know about you, Joelle, because of our longevity, I know that you are a person of ritual. So ritual to reclaim and to release. So thank you to all the people and all the groups and all the ways that they have served. And now I am choosing to let you go because I haven't been much help to you hanging out and hanging you, weighing you down with all of my busyness and non-essentialness. And it's time for me to be more free as well. So in whatever way you choose to do that, writing, I know you're a visual artist, nature, something very physical and very tangible, again, because of what I know about you. Maybe we're building another Viking raft, having another Viking funeral and saying goodbye. And then from that space, entering into your 4Q plan from literally a new level, a new space, asking as you enter into the week, from this place where I am now free, where am I meant to be in connection and be in action? And you will receive different guidance because you have literally and tangibly made a decision. I'm no longer plugged into this horse. I am no longer aligning my ladder with these library books. Let's take a breath in and let it out. What do you hear, Joelle?
A both end, right? So there's this, because it'd be just easier to go like, I'm going to just sever and just kind of move on. And that feels like fragmentation.
That's right.
And what I'm hearing you is, because I've been writing this on my 4Q plan, like there is no separation. This is based on an interaction you and I had recently.
Mm-hmm.
There is no separation. So if there is no separation, how do I create the separation without separating from it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how do I acknowledge? How do I feel a sense of gratitude? So capturing that in ritual without feeling like I'm just going to throw it away and get rid of it. Right. And ignore that it ever existed or ever had any utility or service to me.
Which, of course, then it never really goes away.
Right.
And it just festers like an ingrown hair.
Right. We don't like those. Especially if
and we do not like those.
Like, not at all. And then what I'm really hearing is this ability to use my 4Q plan to really begin to tune in, tap in. It's already starting to percolate for me, like who I'm meant to be reaching out to and what I'm meant to be creating. And then using my 4Q time every week to just tune in to what that looks like for me this week and the next week and the week after that.
Gorgeous. Absolutely. And it is going to look different. And most importantly, it's going to feel different. And why it's important to really have that clearly in awareness is because it's going to feel different, which means that it's going to feel odd and unfamiliar. And the untrained HSP, the HSP committed to the shadows, committed to coping mechanisms, is going to go, oh, then this must be wrong. Be very, very aware of that in the same way that you each want to be aware of using words like I wish. Beautiful. We have 2 minutes remaining. If we do happen to go over, please feel free to jump at any time. Let me check in with you. Is this a 2-minute or less support opportunity?
I think it is.
Okay.
Okay. And self-care.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote down coping happens when we're in our shadows and shadow behaviors. I know for myself personally, I'm a combo platter. So I vacillate between hiding and pushing. Those are my coping mechanisms. And as you were asking for what we needed support on, I came up blank and then I sat with it and something came to my mind and I really actually connected to what Fidelma shared as well. And I've noticed that there's a pattern for me that I'm in a space where I don't know how to get out of the pattern, but I want to. When it comes to content creation, preparing for speaking engagement, stuff like that, I will start to create stuff in advance and I feel good about that. But then everything gets sort of bottlenecked, all the rest of the stuff 24 hours before, 2 days before, the morning of. And then I go into pushing and I push, and I get it done. And it's done, but I do not feel good about that. I don't like it. I don't want that to be the pattern anymore. But it's this weird thing where I'm not sure how to change that.
Yeah, amazing. So again, similar, right? With Joelle, there's the awareness and the recognition of the pattern, which is huge. And credit to your longevity in this community as well. Because most people don't have that awareness.
I'm not being silly, but to me, it just feels normal.
Well, most people don't have that awareness, which is why their life looks the same at 75 as it did at 45 or 25, right? So the awareness is extremely valuable. The next step is an inquiry question. If I wasn't to do this bottleneck pattern, what would I do? And my big mentor challenge for you, Jen, is don't use Chat GPT with that question.
Okay. I wasn't planning on it. I will.
That's a whole nother weekly training roundtable. And I'll leave it at that. Let's place a hand on heart. Let's take a breath in and let it out. Coping is not bad. It got us to where we needed to be here and now. It is simply an invitation to be in that awareness that Fidelma so beautifully shared, Joelle so beautifully shared, Jen so beautifully shared, that Lorena will share when I follow up with her on the forum. To go into a different space, a space of that privilege of agency, which is I can create a different experience for myself. It is never too late. It is never not enough time. It is now. Start with what you heard today, share it on the forum. What are you taking away? Let your intuition have your eyes land on someone right here and now. Jot down their name, tag them on the forum, because if anywhere, this is a place for us to support each other in community, interrupting the coping mechanism pattern. Get creating. Stick around for Afterglow. Until next time.